Alright, today we're making Hamburger Helper, and I am going to make homemade noodles for the Hamburger Helper. These noodles is like the chip recipe I did, only I don't fry it. I cut it up into noodles, but it's going to be 2 tablespoons beef gelatin, 2 tablespoons egg white powder, 4 tablespoons of the protein powder, and 3 tablespoons of the Parmesan, and 2/3 cup cold water. So the way I started off is I'm going to go ahead and do my cold water. And get that in there. Alright. So now I'm going to do the 2 tablespoons of beef gelatin, and let me pause this while I open the bag. Alright, so I got my 2 tablespoons of beef gelatin. I'm going to stir that in first and get that incorporated with the water. You can see it getting a little thicky there. Alright, so now I'm going to do my 2 tablespoons of egg white powder. One-handed, because I'm a dork. And then I'm going to do 4 of the protein powder. Alright, and then 3 of the Parmesan. Alright, I'm going to stir all that up and I'll be right back with you. Alright, so my pan is heated up. I've got it on a low temp. At the same time, though, that I'm doing my noodles, I'm going to start browning my ground beef for the Hamburger Helper. And what I do with the noodles is I'm just going to scoop it up in my little tablespoon thing and just smear it around till I make kind of a round thing. And it, you know, the shape isn't that important. We're making noodles out of it, so, you know, have fun with it. But I'm going to let that cook for a sec until I see that it's turned white and it's not really as glossy, and where I can, like, take it off the pan. So this is really the only thing I cook that I use a nonstick pan for. I highly encourage you, if you have a pancake griddle that's nonstick, using that, because you can make basically multiple ones of these at one time, and it's not such a production. I have this little nonstick skillet, and this is the only thing I cook in it. And I use a rubber spatula, so that way I don't scratch it. And this is a high heat one, so I can use it on here. But if you can see, it's starting to dull out some, and you can see the edges are starting to cook. So I'm waiting until that's cooked enough for me to flip it. And it's almost there, you can see it. See how it's starting there? Now I have made these in my cast iron, but they're kind of a pain to do in the cast iron because they do get a little sticky and you have to use a lot of bacon grease. So it's almost ready for me to flip. I can tell it's not quite ready yet because when I put my spatula under, it's still sticky. But you don't want to I don't know if you can really overcook them, but it does dry them out some. And since we're going to be putting them in liquid, so see how I was able to scoop it up, and I'm just going to flip it over. Cook that side not very long because this is almost done anyways. And then I'm going to keep going with the next. So I'll show you what it looks like when I flip it over. And then I'm going to cook the rest of these and brown the hamburger meat and then come back to you. Make it a little easier. Hubby's still recovering from his hip surgery, so I'm not going to ask him to hold the camera. He's walking around with a walker, poor guy. But he's doing great. It's been over a week. He had it done last Wednesday, and he's doing fantastic. He said, "Here I come." And he got the dogs barking. So there you go. I'm just going to take this and set it over here and keep going with it. And I'll have him videotape when I get to the Hamburger Helper part, because I'm not going to make you look at me doing all these noodles.
I'm back for a report.
Okay, he said he's giving a report, so I'll do another noodle while he's giving a report.
Show me from the knees down.
The knees down?
Knees down. Got my stockings on, my love shorts, and today's day 8, and I went through all my different exercises, and it's the first day with minimal pain to no pain, doing everything that I'm supposed to do exercise-wise. So it's very, very pleased today. Can't wait to get my right hip done. But I'm actually able to walk with the walker and actually walk at a pace I haven't walked at in 3-4 years. So, blessed. So I'm better.
Well, I tried to do the knees down. I think I got your boxer shorts in it.
Woohoo! Got my love shorts.
I'm sorry, guys. Anyone that's watching, hide your kids, hide your wife. I'll be back with you once I'm ready on the Hamburger Helper part, and I'll show you how I cut the noodles. Alright, we're fixed to get started on the Hamburger Helper. I'm still working on the noodles. They're still cooking. And I've got the ground beef in there browned. So what I have over here is I have 1 teaspoon mustard. I have 1 tablespoon sugar-free ketchup, and I'll link all this to the bottom what we use. Half a teaspoon of pepper, half a teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of garlic, and 1 teaspoon of onion powder. I'm also going to be using 2 cups heavy whipping cream, half a cup shredded cheese. I'm going to use half a cup of water that I'm just going to pour in here for when I get ready to do it. And then I have half a cup sour cream I'll be putting in close to the end. So what's going to go in first is all of this seasoning, the heavy whipping cream, and the water. So let me go ahead and put some water in that heavy whipping cream. Alright. And let me flip my noodle. Well, I'm calling it a noodle. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and put my heavy whipping cream mixture in there. And I'm going to set the phone down, hit pause while I put all the seasonings in there, and then we'll stir it up. Alright, I've got all my stuff in there. You can see it, so I'm just going to stir this around and get it good and incorporated. And I'm going to let that simmer because I do want it to thicken up some, but I don't want it too thick like a thick gravy, but I want it a little thick. But I wanted to have time to simmer it so all those flavors get incorporated. So I'm going to let that simmer. I'm working on my last noodle thing, and then I've got the rest of them over here ready because I'm going to cut them up. And I just cut them up into like fettuccine noodles. You know, kind of like that. And then I go through and I separate them because you can see they kind of goo together. So I'll go through and separate all these before I put them in the pan. But you can see them. Oh, I didn't even have the camera on it. You can see them right there. So I'm going to slice all this up like that, and I'll be back with you. Alright, I've still got it simmering because I want to thicken that sauce up some, but I wanted to give it time to really incorporate all the seasonings. So you can see it's working on it. And I've got my noodles ready. So once I have the sauce where I want it, I'm going to throw my noodles in there and mix it up. And I'm going to go ahead right now and put the cheese in there. And just kind of get that incorporated some. So that way it's nice and in there. It's just easier to stir it once the mixture's all heated up. It makes it incorporate a little better. But I'm going to let that simmer for a little longer, get it nice and thickened, and then put the noodles in. Well, actually, I'll put the sour cream in first and then the noodles and then stir it up, and we'll have Hamburger Helper. So I'll be back. Alright, it's been simmering probably about 6-7 minutes. I've been stirring it. You can see it starting to thicken up. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and put the sour cream in there. I've turned the burner down to low, so it's just kind of it's just kind of keeping it warm. So I'm going to stir in the sour cream. Alright, so at this point, I'm going to put the noodles in as well. But after I put the noodles in, I got to stir gently. And that's because the noodles are fragile. Now, if you don't want to go through making your own noodles, you can use egg life and cut it up. The egg wraps. I personally don't like the egg flavor, but you might. I mean, it would make it easier than making your own noodles. Alright, so I've kind of incorporated them, and I'm going to let this simmer for probably about 10 minutes. And I'll be back with you. Alright, it's been simmering about 10 minutes. You can see how the sauce has thickened up. So I'm fixed to put some in a bowl, and hubby's going to give it a try. Alright, he is tasting it. You got to blow it because it's right out of the pan.
You never approve anything on the first bite.
I'm sure it's just because he wanted more.
It was. That's awesome. Very good job.
Hubby approved.
Hubby approved.
Well, that's dinner tonight. I hope everyone enjoys the recipe. Thank you to our Patreons for making this possible. And like and subscribe to our channel and like the video. Thank you so much.